All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to uncover the absolutely thrilling history and the timeless strategies of one of the greatest political minds from the 4th century BCE. We are talking about an ancient Indian teacher, philosopher, economist, and royal advisor who literally built an empire from scratch. His name is Chanakya. And the wild thing is, the strategies he wrote down over 2,000 years ago, they are so remarkably sharp that they still serve as a total masterclass in leadership, statecraft, and just straight-up survival today.
But to really get this guy, we have to start with the inciting incident, the dramatic moment that literally changed history. Before he was this legendary empire builder, Chanakya was just a brilliant, albeit pretty blunt, scholar and professor. He was teaching at the ancient University of Takshashila, and his whole life flipped upside down when he visited the court of Dhanananda, the ruler of the massive but totally corrupt Nanda dynasty. During a public assembly, the king flat out insulted and humiliated him, and in response, Chanakya did something unforgettable. He reached up, untied his shika, which is the traditional lock of hair kept by scholars, and swore a fierce, unbelievable oath. He vowed he would leave his hair untied until he had completely destroyed the Nanda dynasty and built a righteous kingdom in its place. Talk about holding a grudge, right?
Now, interestingly enough, history knows this mastermind by 3 distinct names, and each one kind of carries its own deep meaning. First up, we've got Chanakya, which is a patronymic name coming from his father, Chanak. Then there's Vishnugupta, which most historians think was actually his birth name, but it's the third name that tells you exactly who you're dealing with, Kautilya. Kautilya translates roughly to crooked or shrewd, and honestly, it is the perfect testament to his incredibly complex, highly tactical, and sometimes ruthless approach to politics. He wasn't just sitting around theorizing, he was a man of action. Because of that intense shrewdness, modern scholars actually love to call him the Indian Machiavelli. The key takeaway here is that his political philosophy was 100% practical. He didn't waste a single second on utopian ideals if they couldn't actually work in the real world. His approach was fiercely laser-focused on results, maintaining the stability of the kingdom and ensuring the ultimate welfare of the state. Way before the Italian thinker Niccolo Machiavelli even existed, Chanakya was already laying down this sharp, realistic, and sometimes ruthless playbook for protecting the state at absolutely all costs. So how on earth did he actually fulfill that crazy vow of vengeance? Well, he needed a king. Chanakya channeled all that anger into a massive master plan by finding a young, super talented boy named Chandragupta Maurya. Chanakya took this kid under his wing and meticulously mentored him. I'm talking military strategy, hardcore politics, the law, the whole shebang. Together with Chanakya as the architect and Chandragupta as the muscle, they actually pulled it off. They defeated the corrupt Nandas. But they didn't even stop there. They went on to establish the Mauryan Empire, which became an absolute powerhouse that united almost the entire Indian subcontinent for the very first time. He wasn't just a kingmaker, he was an empire builder.
And all of that ambition birthed a legacy that survived millennia. Chanakya actually authored 2 monumental texts that people all over the world still study today. On one side, you have the Arthashastra. This is his massive, incredibly detailed manual on statecraft. It roughly translates to the science of material gain, and it's basically a nuts and bolts operational manual for running a superpower. It covers everything: economic policy, taxes, military strategy, running spy networks. Then, on the totally flip side, you have the Chanakya Niti. This is such a cool contrast. It's this collection of short, punchy aphorisms giving super practical advice on daily life, personal ethics, how to pick your friends, and just everyday leadership. So you've got one massive text for running an empire and another for running your own life.
If we dive into the Arthashastra, we start hitting his core strategic concepts. Chanakya didn't just see a nation as a random piece of land. He viewed it through what he called the Saptanga theory. He saw the state as a living, breathing organism made up of 7 essential limbs. Think of it like this. The king is the head, the ministers are the eyes, your allies are the ears, the treasury is the mouth, the army is the mind, the fortified capital represents the arms, and the territory and population act as the legs. The logic here is just absolutely brilliant, because just like an actual human body, if any single organ or limb gets weak, the entire state suffers. Every single piece has to be nurtured if you want the whole thing to survive.
But naturally, a healthy body still has to go out and navigate the real world, right? And that brings us to his blueprint for foreign policy, the mandala theory. This is a highly structured, wonderfully complex geopolitical map based entirely on concentric circles of influence. He figured out exactly how a king should view the kingdoms right next door, and then the kingdoms just beyond those. It creates this incredibly clear, albeit maybe a little cynical, map of international relations.
And the entire core of that mandala theory boils down to this one super famous premise. Your neighbor is your natural enemy, and your neighbor's neighbor is your natural friend. I really want you to just pause and let the sheer, unfiltered pragmatism of that sink in. It is the ultimate, ancient version of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Chanakya realized that bordering nations are always going to compete for the same land and resources. Friction is just unavoidable. But the nation on the other side of your rival, well, they share your exact same problem, which makes them your natural ally. It's honestly mind-blowing to think about how perfectly this ancient concept of concentric circles still maps onto global geopolitics today. Now, to maintain that super delicate balance of internal health and external security, Chanakya knew that information was the ultimate power. So he pushed for a massive, deeply embedded spy network. But what's really fascinating here is exactly who he hired to do the spying. He wasn't just using typical military scouts. No, he used everyday people working everyday jobs. We're talking monks, merchants, even actors. By weaving his intelligence agency right into the normal fabric of everyday society, the state could constantly keep tabs on corrupt officials on the inside and foreign threats on the outside, all without ever drawing suspicion.
And when that spy network actually uncovered a rival or a brewing conflict, Chanakya never just rushed blindly into war. He had a very systematic four-step playbook for escalating things, known as the 4 upayas. Step 1 is sama, which is all about conciliation. You try to placate the rival through diplomacy. Just talk it out. If that fails, you step it up to dana, which means giving gifts. Bribery, basically. If money doesn't work, you escalate to step 3, beta. This is sowing dissension, the classic divide and conquer strategy. And finally, only as an absolute last resort do you hit to step 4, danda, which is outright physical force or punishment. The guy was a master of efficiency. I mean, why waste blood and treasure on a war when a well-placed bribe or a smart diplomatic chat could solve the whole problem?
But here's the thing, Chanakya's ruthless efficiency wasn't just meant for kings and empires, it was for everyday people too. The source material frames this next bit as a quiz, but let's actually make it a personal challenge for you right now. Before starting any new work, any new project, or making a big life change, Chanakya insisted that you have to stop, think deeply, and find solid answers to 3 core questions. So can you guess what they are? What are the 3 critical things you absolutely need to know before taking that first step? All right, here are his answers. Number 1, why am I doing it? You have to have absolute crystal clear clarity of purpose. Number 2, what might the results be? You've got to play the tape forward and anticipate the real consequences of your actions. And number 3, will I be successful? You have to take a hard, objective look at your own capabilities to see if you can actually pull it off. The ultimate mastermind believed you should only ever move forward when you've nailed down clear, totally satisfactory answers to all 3 of these questions. It is literally an ancient checklist for modern decision-making.
So, what's the big takeaway from this explainer today? Let's break down a modern call to action straight from Chanakya's ancient playbook. First off, reflect deeply before you act. Seriously, adopt his rule of asking those 3 vital questions before launching into anything new. Second, value time and growth. Never, ever judge anyone's potential, and that includes your own, just based on whatever struggles are happening right now. Always remember that time has this incredible, transformative power to turn really rough conditions into outstanding success. And finally, study practical wisdom. Check out classic frameworks like the Arthashastra and Chanakya Niti to help sharpen your own decision-making. We've spent this time exploring the mind of an absolute ancient genius today, but the real question is, how are you going to use his playbook to build your own empire tomorrow?